Greetings and salutations, everyone. I do hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description below. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click that like button. Takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to this early morning, middle of the night bonus upload, shall we? State government. What's this guy got to say? So I give him a call, and his name is Ryan. His sister listens to this channel. She's been subscribed for a while. He used to think that she was absolutely nuts. She has had a Bigfoot encounter in Minnesota, which he used to make fun of her about. We talked for probably 45 minutes to an hour. And so what he does is he works for the state government. His job is he works for the Department of Natural Resources, or DNR. And what he does is he goes around to all of the state parks or any kind of waterways and tests the waters to make sure there's no pollutants or whatnot in the waters. He's had this job for 12 years now, and he's in his early 40s. So he's younger than me, a little younger than me. But that's what he does. He is armed when he goes out, and he is a DNR. He is a officer. He can enforce, rules and regulations. So if I'm dumping garbage in the, woods and he comes upon me, he can arrest me. So he does have some power. Something that he doesn't like to throw around. He enjoys the environmental part of his job the most, being outside, except when it's winter. He made that very clear, because it is very cold up there, he said. Now, I said, so, Ryan, you stated Dogman ? And at the end of that email, I was right. I'm like, I am not an expert, first and foremost. I don't think that I know anything. All right? I'm just going to let you know firsthand. So I might be able to help you answer a question, but I'm not an expert. And he said, well, my sister said that you would be very interested in this. He said, I used to pick on her for 20-something years after she had her Bigfoot encounter. One that she was adamant about happening. She shared it with her parents, her brother. This was before he was in the DNR. So with his job, his sister asks him pretty much every time she sees him, have you seen anything strange in the woods? Have you seen anything? These things are real. This, and that. And every time, no, I haven't, you nut. This, and that. Really nice guy. He was joking with his sister, but really did think that she was a little bit off because of the encounter and how deep down the rabbit hole she went, like many of us do. So he has been testing the water quality in Minnesota because of the fires up in Canada. Well, and I encourage you guys to open a map and open the map of Minnesota and look up Roseau County, and that will put you in the vicinity of where we are, Longworth, Minnesota, to be exact. There is a border agent office there, and there's not too much else in that area. He said it's camping and, camping. So he's testing the water. He's been testing the water all along the northern border of Minnesota for the last 2 weeks because of the fire, the air quality, and the contaminants that are in the air from the fire settling in the water. Now, he is in the vicinity of Muskeg Bay. He, on day one, is up there and sees some very abnormal tracks in the mud by where he is testing the water. Doesn't really think much of it. Maybe it's a wolf that came down from Canada. Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe it's a wolf that's here or a big dog from a camper. He said, but the more he got thinking about it, the more he didn't feel that it was a wolf. He actually went home later that night. He drives like 4 hours to be in location sometimes. So he goes and Googles black bear paw prints because that's in his mind how big this print was. He said that really doesn't look anything like what I saw. And he's not thinking about anything other than work and now this print for, the time being. He's like, why didn't I take a picture of it? I got to go up tomorrow and take a picture of it. He had to go up anyway to do more testing along the Canadian border. Winnipeg is right above where he is at. Goes up there the next day, and with the tide or whatever of the lake, the tracks are not, they're there, but they're not really visible as much as they were the day before. He starts looking and going along this small kind of coast. It's not really a beach per se. It's just like a coast kind of, and doesn't see anything more. And he's at this point kicking himself in the butt for not taking a picture of it. Well, he then goes up to where he needs to be, starts taking some more water samples, and decides to go over to the border customs. He's pretty familiar with those folks over there. Has coffee with them and stuff like that just to shoot the breeze. Plus, he's got to go to a small lake just past there. He goes in, tells them about this footprint or print that he had seen during the conversation. It wasn't like the first thing that came up. Hey, I saw this weird footprint. What do you think it might be? And the guys are just like, we have no idea. We haven't heard anything. We haven't seen any bear. All right. He then goes to Marvin Lake, this little lake just outside of Lost River State Forest. Okay. Now, this is all in kind of a straight line from where he was. Goes, does some testing. The water levels or some kind of, there was something off with the water levels, some sort of chemical imbalance in the water. And that's what he's testing for, to make sure everything's decent up there. So on his way back through, he stops at customs, talks to them for a little more, mentions the water being off, and they talk about the fire and all. And he's like, all right, I gotta come back up in a day or two. Be safe, yada yada. Goes home, submits all his work that he's done, the samples, the water samples, this and that, to where it needs to be taken. And on the Wednesday, the 7th of June, is when his life changed forever. So he's back up at the Muskeg Bay. His higher ups say, or the Department of Environmental or something like that. A company that is, or not a company, a agency that is above them, kind of. He doesn't technically answer to them. He answers to Department of Natural Resources, but there's another company above, or agency above him. And they say, hey, with the samples from Muskeg Bay, take them out off of the shore and kind of go into the bay, almost to where Muskeg Bay opens up to the Lake of the Woods, which the Lake of the Woods extends up into Canada. He's got a canoe. He canoes out, does what he needs to do. He's got about 13, 14 different bottles or containers of water samples in his kind of like not like a cooler, but a backpack like cooler that has little designated spots for the test tubes. He's out on the lake for a while because he wants to get different samples from different parts of the area. He can't cross into Canada, so he's got to be safe on that. So he rows back in. It sounds like it's a big deal, but it's not. He actually enjoys, doing this. They he doesn't use, on certain occasions, he doesn't use an electric trolling motor or a gas because he doesn't want to stir up anything. That's why he paddled out. He gets to his truck, loads his canoe up onto the top of the truck and proceeds to drive out. There's one road in, one road out. It's 410. And he's just getting ready to jump in the truck. And a couple of what he said, good old boys, and kind of snickered. He said they're a different breed up there. There's not too many houses up there. Like I said, there's not an awful lot. There's probably 10 to 15 different homes up there. He said the yards kind of look like junkyards. They're not bad people. They're just, that's how they live. So they come in, they see him, and they're very respectful people. They're very nice people. And they start shooting the breeze and talking. And one of the guys lives probably about, a half a mile? It's about 3 miles from where he is to customs, maybe a little longer. So about a half a mile, I'm looking at the map right now, about a half a mile, maybe a little longer, to where he's docked to where this guy's house is. What's going on? They're asking questions. Immediately, we got our fishing license, boss. We're good, yada, yada. He's like, I'm testing water. They start talking about the fire and all this. And one of the guys said, I saw the damnedest bear the other night. And he said, really? He said, I found a track or a couple different tracks out here. It's all hard clay above where the shoreline is. There's not a shoreline. It's not like a beach, it's a lot of reeds and stuff right there. So he said, but damn, I didn't take a photo of it, a picture on my phone. I wish I did. What do you mean, strange bear? And he said, I was out welding, and he's kind of got this airport or airplane hangar kind of barn that he works in, hangs out in, He's working in there one night, and he's got lights around his whole perimeter of his home on telephone poles. And he sees this bear run by on all fours, but it had a tail. And he said, listen, I know what wolves look like. This was no wolf. It was probably 5.5 feet at its back as it ran. That's why I think it was a bear, but I ain't never seen no bear with a tail. Ryan is now kind of like, what the hell is going on? So he then goes to the guy's house. He shows him where all this went down. He's looking, and he's configuring where this creature might have went. As they're there, they're just talking, and he makes a joke. You think it might have been a Bigfoot? And the guy shook his head and goes, it ran on all fours, and it had a snout, and it had ears. He goes, but if it wasn't so big, I would have thought it was a wolf. But it was far too big to be a wolf. So that's why I think it was a bear with some sort of maybe genetic deformity. He's like, all right, guys, be safe, yada, yada. He's driving because he's got to go into the Lost River again, and he's going to canoe out into the middle of this Marvin Lake. Once again, check this out on the map. It's pretty interesting. Goes in, says hi to Customs, gets some coffee. Nothing unusual. And then heads towards Lost River State Forest and Marvin Lake. So as he's on his way to Marvin Lake, he's thinking about what the guy said. He's thinking about his job, what he's going to be doing here. A lot of the lake is swampy at one side, so he's got to go pretty much around this small lake. It's not nearly as big as the Lake of the Woods. It's pretty big. Marvin Lake is a small, He's driving out, and it's all wooded out there. And as he's about a quarter of a mile on this old kind of dirt road, there's two full military gear, long rifles, standing in the middle of the road. He's thinking, what in the hell is going on, Jeff? That's how he said it. They stop him, and, who are you? Yada, yada. They ask him the typical questions. He said, DNR, Ryan, da-da-da, which is not his real name. They let him through. They don't say anything. They look at his credentials. He shows them, his obviously he's in a state truck, DNR. They look at his credentials, his badge, and they just let him in. They don't say anything to him. He's just like, that's so weird. What the hell is going on? So he gets out there, and he had only been there 2-3 days before this. And he stops. There's 3 large military, kind of like Humvee vehicles, and a kind of like a cargo truck, and with the 6 wheels, but 2 are dualies in the back or whatever. And he's driving up going, maybe because of the fire, maybe there's a fire down in here. Why wasn't I notified? About 1 million things are going through his head. He gets out of he parks and gets out. He's got his bag with him. He's got his clipboard. He is armed. He's got a sidearm on. Starts walking to see, hey, what's going on? The first thing he comes to as he walks past the vehicles is a small tent. And it's kind of like pushed inside of itself. It's almost like someone took the tent, so the tent's like this, took it from the bottom and went like that to it. And there's what appears to be blood on this tent. He's taken back a little. He said, Jeff, when I saw the tent, he goes, part of me said, get the hell out of here. Then the other part of me said, why wasn't I informed on what is going on? What is going on? He walks in. A guy, military, sees him and proceeds to walk. He's not like a regular soldier. He's walks up to him, addresses him, and says this and that to him. Formal introductions, He said there was another soldier right behind him. He said, well, I'm here to take water samples. What's going on? Was this tent? What's going on? Is there a fire? What? The higher brass says, take your water samples and get the hell out of here. At this point, he's just like, I don't get talked to like that. This is my, I'm, head honcho, head copper kind of here. What's going on? He said, come with me. They walk out, and there in front of him is what he said was about 8 feet long, probably 4.5 feet wide at its shoulders. It resembled a human, and it had the markings of a dirty coyote. It had a long snout, tail, shot up, blood everywhere. What the hell is this? You tell us. That's what the guy says. You tell us. You don't know? And he's just like beside himself because no, he doesn't know. He's like, well, what's up with this tent? What's going on with the tent? He looks at him and just shakes his head and walks by. Says, do your job and get out of here. At this point, he's like, I don't know what to do. He goes, I went back to my truck. He goes, I radioed in. Hey, this is what I just saw. There's a tent out here. There's about 10 soldiers, some high brass guy, and what looks to be a werewolf. He goes, I'm not crazy. I don't know what the hell's going on. What's going on? Can you tell me what's going on? He's talking to his superior. His superior says, get your ass back. Get your ass back to base, to the station where we need to talk. He drives out. He's shaking. He's not anything. Pulls in, gets a coffee to customs and says, hey, did you guys see the military things up there? He contemplated on saying stuff about what he saw, but, he just said the military. One of the border patrol or custom agents says, yeah, they came out of the Minneapolis, St. Paul Air National Guard base. We thought, they were there to assist you or possibly do something. We saw them drive through, and one of the higher brasses stopped and said, this is who we are. This is what we're doing. We'll be up here for a little bit. Have a good day. Bop, bop, bop. Done. Okay. He goes back to base, or his substation or station that he's stationed out of, and says, his boss is there waiting for him. And there's a gentleman that he's never seen before wearing a suit, and says, what'd you see up there? Boss doesn't even say anything. The guy says, what did you see up there? And he proceeds to say, well, I went down the road. I did my tests at the bay. I went down the road, stopped, had a coffee, talked to these guys for a minute, and then went to Marvin's Lake. And there was some military. There was a tent that was almost torn inside out. There was blood, what appeared to be blood on it. And then I saw, and before he could say werewolf or whatever, he said, you didn't see anything. You didn't see anything. You don't know anything. Do you value your job? And Ryan's just like, at this point, he's like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool. I don't. He leaves the samples from Muskeg Bay and the Lake of the Woods and leaves for the day. They send him home. He said, take a couple of days, go home, relax. He calls his sister, who listens to the channel, and tells her what he had seen. And she immediately said, you saw a Dogman. So at that point, his sister is asking him a ton of questions, like, what did it look like? Did you get a picture? Did you do this? Did you do that? And he said, I couldn't do anything. The guy was in my face. I didn't know what to do. I didn't get my samples, and then when I got back to the station, I was sent home with 5 days leave, 5 days on vacation. And she said, hang on one second, sorry. She said, contact Jeff Nadolny. here's his email. Share this experience with him. And she had said something about the forest fires in Canada pushing these things down. And I said, well, do you want me not to share this? I first said, anonymity is respected. I can sit on this for as long as you want me to. I don't have to share it immediately. I don't have to do anything. You can just tell it to me and we can call it a day. He said, I wasn't forced or told to sign a disclosure. This happened on the 7th. It's the 10th now, 3 days. He said, I'm going back Monday. So go ahead. He said the one thing that's killing his brain, though, is the tent. He doesn't, and then I said, well, what about the Dogman? And he said, yeah, that's messing me up pretty bad. He said, but the tent, where'd the people go? What's the blood from? How did these people know? How weren't we told? What's going on? And I said, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how they know. I don't know what they know. All I know is these things exist. The government knows about them. Maybe it was chipped. He said chipped, and I said, check this out. Read, listen to this experience. And I sent him Victor, one of Victor's experiences, or one of the uploads with Victor in it. But he then, I asked him some questions. He said there was a lot of blood on the ground around the Dogman. He said it didn't look like a werewolf or whatever Dogman that you called him. Us, because he kept saying werewolf. And I did say it had a tail, right? And he said, yeah. I said, that's a Dogman. He said, it didn't look like, the ones that you see on the movies, though. He said it was lying there. Its head was kind of turned to the side. And it was this dirty brown color. It was big. 8 feet at least. Its shoulders were about 4.5 feet. Its arms were very long. Its mouth was partially open. The fangs were exposed. He said its snout was huge. He said easily a foot, maybe even longer. It had claws on its hands, and its feet had claws as well. But something strange is when he did look at the creature, he remembered the foot and thinking back to the track he saw. And he said, the track that I saw must have been its back foot or its back leg track, because its hands or whatever paw hand did not look like that track, but the back part of it did. It was very big. Its feet, and it smelled like, he said the whole area smelled like a campfire and gasoline. And I was just like, well, I said, Did it smell like, dead meat, vomit, whatever, urine? No. It smelled like a campfire and gasoline. I said, that's weird. I've never heard of, maybe the campfire, but he said there was no campfire near the creature. Very strange. Once again, he gave me permission to share this at ASAP. Guys, look at the map. Look at how strange the location is. I see you going back Monday. Yes, I am. And I said, I did try to convince him to do an interview, but he said, in case anybody hears this, I can plausibly deny it and just say I said, told my sister. But I don't want to have my voice to this. He said, I don't even know how I feel about this whole thing. And, his sister emailed me shortly after he and I talked the first time. And, I just said, this is crazy. This is unbelievable. And sent me a picture of him in his uniform and stuff like that. Very, very nice guy, but very strange. And there's a lot of questions because how did they know? And how did the military or whoever they were know? It was the military, but why would the military be involved? Why was the tent there? What the hell's going on? And who was the guy at his substation? And what's going to happen Monday? I said, listen, if you don't mind, can you at least text me Monday? Let me know you're all good after you go in and stuff, so I know, that you're not just a statistic. And he said, what's that mean? I said, just please let me know that you're all right after work or whatever. And he said, yeah, sure. Really nice guy, but to hear the way he was, it was such confusion in his voice. If there was fear, but a lot of confusion. Confusion about the creature, confusion about the military being there, confusion about the guy, confusion about his boss. Because now in his head, he's like, what does my boss know that I don't know? And why don't I know about these things? And why hasn't anybody told me these things, and this and that? And I said, I don't know. I really don't. And I apologize. I wish I had better answers for you, but I don't. And I appreciate this. Thank you for sharing this. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And there you have it, folks. I hope you all enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go, and honestly what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.